If I'm Ruben, then you Clay Aiken, but second place gets nothing. So get up at this godforsaken booth. The truth is you sadly mistaken. Proof I'm better than layman. Shoot, I'm super.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Let's talk about AEW Rampage Grand Slam. And let me be honest, man. I sat and watched this whole show. And I'm just like you, man. I try to keep my dick wet. I try to avoid suffering. I'm just like everybody else. This show was dreadful, dog. I'm not even gonna hold you up. This show was dreadful. And it wasn't like everything was bad, Like it wasn't like bad. It wasn't. It was just there. Like I didn't care about any of this stuff. None of this stuff made me care. Nobody took the time to let me get into any of these stories that were made. I didn't care about any of these matches. They had no heat. Or if they did try to have some heat, I still just didn't care about the people involved. I feel bad because I genuinely thought this was going to be a decent show. And I was like, okay, well, you got Moxley on here, you got Jericho on here, you got CM Punk on here, you got Adam Cole on here. It ought to be a pretty good show. But no, it wasn't. It was too much. It was too much. It was way too much. And the crazy thing is, it was too much after I watched SmackDown. Like, I watched SmackDown, then I watched Rampage, obviously, right? That's 4 hours of wrestling, bruh. That means that if you were in the building, you saw Dark, Dynamite, then this show started. So I felt just like the fans did. I was like, okay, cool on certain points, but most of the time I was just sitting there with my head in my hands, especially near the main event. I'm like, everything is going too long. I don't know what they could have done. They could have maybe not made Rampage 2 hours. They maybe could have just done Rampage as 1 hour, and it probably would have been better. But this was... Let's get into the show, man. CM Punk versus Powerhouse Hobbs. This was obviously the best match on the show for me. Only match I actually cared about, and they put it on first. Unlike Danielson and Omega, nobody blew their load after this match. The crowd was still pretty tired. So they gave them time to sit and tell the story that they wanted to tell. And Punk gave Hobbs a lot, which I really appreciate. Thank you, Mr. Punk, for actually letting Hobbs get his stuff in. And Hobbs did very good. His offense was simple but effective. He didn't try to do too much. He didn't try to do things he didn't know how to do. And it made him look good. Like he even broke out like a regular bear hug at one point. Like you could tell he was like he's a very green big man, a very green powerhouse. But he's got something. And I'm glad I'm not the only one yelling about it anymore. Very glad to see Powerhouse Hobbs get an opportunity. Very glad. Punk started out with the leg kicks. He didn't continue it. I've never understood that. And I think that's a modern wrestling thing where you start working a limb and then you just go away from it and it doesn't factor into the finish at all. But anyway, I like, he does, CM Punk does his crappy elbow drop from the top rope. His crappy Macho Man, and the crowd chants, "You still got it." And I was like, yeah, you know what? His form is still terrible. So, yeah, it's exactly the same elbow drop he used to do before. So, it was really bad. My favorite spot of the whole match is when Powerhouse Hobbs countered the GTS into a spine buster. I thought that was excellent. At a different time in Hobbs' development, that would have been a great 2 count. Going into this match, you knew Hobbs was not going to win. Not just because, spoilers, but you just know he's not going to beat CM Punk in his second match. Like, no, it's not going to happen. So this spot, if it had been, what Punk was with Hobbs as like the undefeated badass, and Punk's been on the roster for like a year or so he maybe have lost already, and it's feasible that Hobbs could beat him, then this would have been a crazy 2 count. If he'd have counted the GTS into a spine buster, it'd have been like, whoa. But here, it was just kind of like, oh, that was pretty dope. Because we're just going through the motions here. You know, like we know Punk is not about to lose, so we going through the motions. That doesn't mean that the motions have to be bad though. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, there's like, you know, the result of most wrestling matches when they happen. You know, you got to go through the motions, but that doesn't mean they have to be bad motions. I like the Oklahoma Stampede by Hobbs too. The Oklahoma Stampede is the power slam where you ram them into the turnbuckle first. I love that. Again, simple offense. Something which is old Bill Watts finisher. Dr. Death Steve Williams used to do that move. It's a very simple move. You know, I love that. It was great. He didn't try to do too much. The body blocks where he got like from Vader. You know, again, simple stuff. The overhand punches, good stuff. The top rope Hurricanrana, or the second rope Hurricanrana, which a lesser man's neck would have been broken. But Hobbs is not a lesser man. He's lucky to be alive. he's lucky to be alive. CM Punk might want to rethink the second rope Hurricanrana and not doing that again. At one point, Punk flipped off Hook. It was way too much Hook. I don't know why they so gassed off Hook. I mean, he's got great hair, but who cares? He looks like a kid from American Pie. Who cares? Of course, Hobbs falls to the GTS. You know, pretty good. I enjoyed it. Hobbs looked good. CM Punk sold for him. This was very good. The crowd was beat though. Crowd beat to death, and that was very difficult. There was a vignette for Thunder Rosa, Jade Cargill, and Nyla Rose. I have no idea what they're arguing about or what they're fighting about, nor did I care. Then we go to my little sister's dance recital, aka the Young Bucks and Adam Cole versus the Jurassic Express and Christian Cage, in a match that if they're not going to take it seriously, I ain't going to take it seriously. Yeah, again, if you've seen one Young Bucks match, you've seen them all. Just add Adam Cole, and he's doing the same thing. I can tell you exactly where my interest in this match disappeared. When they ran the ropes, the Young Bucks, and then they stopped and kissed Adam Cole on the cheek, I just got up and walked off. I came back. I was back in time for the finish, you know, for the final run. But I was absolutely burnt. I just could not believe that this deep into the show, we had to do this video game extra choreographed horse shit with Luchasaurus, who was ducking super kicks and kipping up and throwing super kicks of his own, and he's doing roundhouse kicks. You know, I'm just kind of like, oh, what is going on, man? It seemed like Jungle Boy and Christian rather were the only two people that came into this match taking it in any way seriously, and nobody treated it like a real fight. It looked like shit. You had Luchasaurus and Adam Cole were doing I think it's Don Fry and Takayama punches in the head thing. It looked awful. For starters, look at the size difference between Luchasaurus and Adam Cole. Why would that? Floyd Mayweather wouldn't even get involved in nothing like that. You know, he wouldn't even get involved with, you know, letting somebody much bigger than him throw free punches at his forehead just so he can throw free punches at their chin. Or, well, their collarbone, because you could barely reach them. It's ridiculous, man. Why would you even do that? You know, the crowd popped for the Jungle Boy spots, because he was the only one taking it seriously, and he actually looked very good. It was, the finish was, oh, man, it was complete North Dakota, all flatlands. Luchasaurus just gets pummeled by finishers. Panama Sunrise, BTE Trigger, Last Shot Pin. Just pummeled the guy. And he just took a mallet to him and beat him to death. I don't care about Luchasaurus. I really don't. But come on, man. You couldn't even pull the tights or something like that. They now, to their credit, they're going to book Jungle Boy versus Adam Cole on Dynamite. Which, you know, I'm all about that. I think that's a good match, you know. It's unfortunate for Jungle Boy because Adam Cole is so new, he's going over. But they're just throwing whatever they can out there, man. They're trying to keep this crowd entertained. But this recital that they had here tonight was boring as fuck. It was too much choreography, and I did not give a shit. The third match on the show, I also didn't give a shit. Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page versus Chris Jericho and Jake Hager. This is at this point where we found out that the show is split into 2 hours. So the show ends, the first hour ends in the middle of this match. And then it just flickers a little bit and welcome to AEW Rampage, hour number 2. You're like, what? Like, why would you do that? Why not just run concurrently? You know, why go off? I'm pretty sure there's some kind of gimmick involved with that, but we'll find out one day. In any event, the match is pretty standard. It's Hager is. Remember they tried to sell us on that Hager was going to be good now all of a sudden, because apparently when you change somebody's name, all of a sudden they're good. So he's not saddled with the name Jack Swagger anymore. He's going to be really good. No, it's still the same body, same legs, same gorilla brain. It's the same guy. No, he's not good. Shit. Man, I can't believe Jericho's a nostalgia act. Jesus Christ, man. This shit was painful, bro. This match was far too long. In any event, the finish came with Dan Lambert tripped Jake Hager, and then Scorpio Sky hit him with a small package. Then the good stuff happened, because Jericho and Hager thought they were going to take out their problems on Dan Lambert. The moment they put their hands on him, all the MMA fighters came out. And you could tell how that Paige Van Zant took time to blow kisses to the camera as she was walking by. You know, I was kind of like, look, I appreciate that. I appreciate it anytime a pretty girl want to blow me a kiss. But you're supposed to be in there trying to be serious here. And then Jericho and Hager. Well, for starters, Scorpio Sky is the one. He's the executioner here. He's like, sick 'em. And then all the MMA fighters, Junior Dos Santos and Paige Van Zandt, they all just take down Hager and Jericho, and they beat him to death. Paige Van Zandt throws some. They looked good, but you could tell she wasn't trying to kill Jericho with them. And then Jorge Masvidal, who looks like he should be in the wrestling business. He was dressed like Ghostface Killer. He's like he's wearing pajamas, and he did a pretty interesting running knee. You know, he could tighten it up a little bit, but it wasn't bad. And I like this part because I like the MMA fighters did something. Finally, they did something. I don't see the benefit of it unless they're gonna go full war games with like the MMA fighters against the Inner Circle. Speaking of which, where were they? Oh, Santana and Ortiz are in the next match. They just watched Hager and Jericho get their asses kicked. Sammy Guevara's back there too, by the way. He was writing his signs though. They were doing other things. While Jericho and Hager are being picked apart by vultures, Santana and Ortiz is back there painting their face and filing their nails, and Jericho's just getting pummeled by this chick in the ring. As they're getting their asses beat, those guys are back there doing their own thing. I don't know. They overbooked it, right, with the post-match jumping, and then didn't even bring the Inner Circle out there. I mean, there's enough MMA fighters. For starters, you shouldn't have needed 400 MMA fighters to beat up these two guys. Okay? Now, even if you want to say it should take 2 to take down Hager because you want to protect his undefeated thing, Jericho is bloated in 50. Masvidal or Junior Dos Santos should have been able to take him by himself. Jericho knows what he's doing. He's an adult. He knows the business. It wouldn't have been a big deal for him to get taken down by an MMA fighter. And you could have used 2 of them to one grab, the legs of Hager, or the other one throw punches or whatever. It would have been fine. And then you could have had the other Inner Circle guys come down, and they get beat up. Then you have Santana and Ortiz work the next match, kind of beat up because of they tried to help the Inner Circle, and could have built up some drama for that whole ordeal. They decided not to. They just decided they were going to just move on, and the crowd just moved on with it. Santana and Ortiz plus the Lucha Brothers. I'm surprised Conan wasn't there. Versus the Hardy Family Office, which includes the Butcher and the Blade and Private Party. And it was officially at this point where I was done with this show. I was just like, man, I do not care what happens. I really don't. Lucha Brothers and Santana and Ortiz wins. Orange Cassidy came out there to knock out Jack Evans because Matt Hardy was going to cut, I believe it was Ortiz's hair. He was going to cut his hair with some scissors. Of course, he had to. Weird thing about the scissors is you always have to show the scissors to the crowd. Like, look at the scissors. I got the scissors. And then the guy is on his belly squirming. Like, he can't get away. Like, why can't he move? Why can't he get up? He's a grown man. In any event, the match, Lucha Brothers, Santana and Ortiz, that could have been fun. That could have been a fun squad. But it was so late in the day. And I did not care about the Butcher and the Blade and any of these other guys on the other side. I don't give a damn about the Hardy family office. I do not care. They're job guys. They never win. So there was no... It was all masturbation for the crowd. They did all the flips they were going to do. And that's just how it is. We just saw guys do a bunch of goddamn flips. With the Young Bucks and all these guys doing all the flips and all the thigh slapping and all the choreographed garbage. We just saw this. Why are there so many tag team matches on this show? Oh. Anyway, Matt Hardy challenges Orange Cassidy to a hair versus hair match. But then swerve, bro. It's not Matt Hardy who's going to be wrestling the match. It's going to be Jack Evans. So, let me get this straight. You had this idea for this pink slip match, right? Great idea. We're going to put somebody's car on the line. You do it with an undercard guy like Fuego del Sol. Nobody cares about him. You got this idea to do a hair versus hair match. Great idea. I love the hair versus hair match because I actually like Lucha Libre. It means something. We're going to do it with Jack Evans, though. Jack Evans? Jack Evans is barely on television. Why all of us... He's burning through... Now he's not just hot-shotting big matches. He's also hot-shotting stipulations. What next? Is it going to be Isaiah Cassidy versus Jungle Boy in an I Quit match on TV for no reason? It's like, come on, bro. No, come on, man. Save us. Why couldn't... Look, I get it. Matt Hardy is probably not in the shape to wrestle anymore. Or you just want to build up to the Matt Hardy Orange Cassidy match. So you want to take your time. Okay. Then don't have the hair versus hair match. Just have Orange Cassidy versus Jack Evans. I don't know if they've done it on Dark or something like that. Maybe they've already done it. I don't know. But it seemed like a waste of a hair versus hair stipulation to me. It just seemed like a waste. Sammy Guevara and Fuego del Sol, speaking of them, they came out to do the sign gimmick. They both got jumped by Miro. Fuego got thrown off the stage, which was great. Sammy got put in the accolade or the game over. I think they should change the name of that move because game over doesn't fit his character anymore. Yes, your finisher should be similar to your character name. This doesn't make any sense. Why would a guy who doesn't like he plays video games, the Redeemer, that maybe you should have called it the Penance or something like that. I think that would be better for like a finisher name. If you're going to go religious, do it like call it the Penance or something like that, and it'd be better than calling it game over, which is an allusion to his previous gimmick where he was wearing pink shirts and it was awful. I thought didn't he dye his hair blonde too? It was the shits. In any event, Andrade says that he doesn't want anybody interrupting his matches, and that he's going to beat Pac again, this time with no excuses. So they're just going to run it back. Look, WWE does a lot of rematches, so I can't be mad at AEW for wanting to do a rematch. But poor Andrade. Poor Andrade. He left WWE because they weren't doing anything with him. And now AEW just can't find anything for him to do. Poor fella. All right, next match, Anna Jay versus Penelope Ford. You're a fool if you think I watched this. Penelope Ford hit Anna Jay with some brass knuckles. Then it turned into a schmoz because all the guys came out there and everybody was fighting, and then the Dark Order didn't know whether they wanted to be friends or not. They did their drama where they offered to shake hands, and then nobody shook hands. Everybody left, and it was just kind of like, oh god, this show is too long. It's a long show. It's a long show. And then the main event, which I actually forgot even existed, Lance Archer and Minoru Suzuki versus Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston in a lights out match. And you know, AEW has pretty much set a standard when it comes to lights out matches that there was going to be blood and guts and people getting stabbed with objects, screwdrivers, and hitting each other in the head with bricks and all that kind of stuff. None of that happened. This match was relatively boring in comparison to all the other matches that they've done. The promos were, I don't know. Eddie Kingston talked about how much he respects Suzuki and Archer can kiss his ass. And then Moxley said, the guy's been trying to kill me for 2 years. And the next chapter in the feud that will never end with Lance Archer ends up beginning again. And at one point, Moxley's arms are taped behind his back. And they're strangling him. They're beating him with chairs. They're putting him in submission holds. I'm just kind of like, nah. It wasn't even that this match was predictable, because you know Lance Archer's and he's probably going to do a job. That's not even the problem. The problem is I just didn't want to see this, you know. And then it was lights out, and I was like, what is that going to add? You know, we just every time Archer and Moxley get in the ring together, it's going to be hardcore, no disqualification. I mean, I guess it's some way to make this stuff interesting, but the big thing, of course, is that Homicide appears. So the baby faces had an ace in the hole called Homicide, who shows up and, you know, attacks the heels, beat him up a little bit. He then cut the tape from Moxley, but Moxley apparently just kept his arms behind his back, even though Homicide had cut the tape. And this wouldn't have been a big deal if he was doing, like, you know, he's playing possum or something, right? Which, you know, you would expect. When he got hit in the stomach with a chair, he just let it happen. He got hit in the stomach with a chair and he just let it happen. Because, you know, it's okay. I can get stabbed with a chair. It's all right. I'll be all right. It's not like it could possibly break my rib or anything. I'm probably unnecessarily sour on this show, but I am, man. It just felt like, I mean, let's be honest. You know, okay, Moxley and Kingston win. You know, because Kingston beats the crap out of a steel trash can that's on Lance Archer's head. Homicide, you know, it was a peak of him coming in. I would be more excited to see Homicide if he wasn't everywhere already. Like, he's already in Ring of Honor. He's doing GCW. He's been everywhere. And it's like the Forbidden Door is just the same people. You see him everywhere. It's hard to get excited for him when you see him everywhere. And plus, of course, AEW is kind of like, oh, it's gotta be a surprise. It's gotta be a surprise. We don't need a surprise, man. We just need reasons for things to happen. And for you to deliver on the things with a reason for it to happen. You know, that's all we needed. And this was too much. You know, I think they overshot. You know, I know that the crowd was very tired. I know that people left, as far as people who left the building during Rampage. I see why. You know, after CM Punk, what else is there really to watch? You can watch the rest of his stuff on TV. You know. But they tried to load up the show because they wanted to do big numbers. I think this show was probably more loaded than Dynamite, to be quite honest, because it had more names on it. But I think in doing that, you put the show on at 10 o'clock. That means the show goes off at midnight, and you're asking a lot from people who probably just watched SmackDown. Because there's a lot of crossover between that WWE and AEW audience. Despite the fact that people act like, you know, super tribal about it. Very few people are, I only watch WWE and I only watch AEW. Very, very, very few people are like that. Most people watch both, you know. you know, or maybe they don't watch both at exactly the same time, kind of like I do. But maybe they watch both in respects that they may, you know, watch SmackDown and then watch Rampage the next morning, or they may, you know, stay up and watch Rampage and then they'll watch SmackDown the next morning or something like that. But most people are going to see both shows, okay? And I think that probably is reflected in the numbers and reflected in the media. You know, it's kind of the same people watching everything. But this show to me, it was nothing. It was an exercise in how can we do great match, how many spots we can do, not an exercise in any attempt at storytelling. It went far too long without a good storyline of people that I was interested in. It was just not there. I'm sorry. I see why everybody was so tired, and it wasn't for me. Let me know what you got. Compare it to the first night. Nah, the first night jammed. This one, nah, man. After Punk and Hobbs, I was kind of like, all right. I know they're gonna try to up the energy with the Young Bucks, but they just went full, you know, Disney on Ice, and it was just kind of like, I'm tired of that junk, man. And then they doubled down on it with the Lucha Brothers. I was like, man, I'm good, dog. I'm good, dog. And then it was like all multiple tag team matches where the rules didn't matter. Guys were doing whatever they wanted. You know, there's no structure to it. It's just guys jumping and flipping all over the place. It was just too much. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys for your time. And I'll talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.
Skin tone, so why attach yourself and piggyback the wealth you didn't earn or lack yourself? I'm telling you to own up to your own success and failures. It's a reason why these